Is it a step in the right direction in terms of banning people who've gone through puberty who are trans athletes from taking part in women's sports?
Well, Dan, you know, I've just got to say, I mean, I've been thinking about this now for a very, very long time now, and I think the right decision has been made. I mean, I think I do sympathise with the transgender community, but I really do think that, you know, science needs to be done. It had to be done. It's been looked at now. And I do think that if this hasn't happened, then it would create really a disadvantage to people who are looking for fair competitiveness in sport. And I cannot agree at this time that, you know, having a transgender compete, especially in the sport arena, and that I've been in for 26 years, and compete on the level with women as such, that it's fair. It's about fairness. It's about, yes, okay, we have to look at equality, but it's about fairness. And I cannot agree that this is fair.
OK, Amy, I'll throw it over to you before I go to Maya. I mean, look, you heard from Tessa. She says she's competed at the sharp end of elite level in women's sports, and she says this wouldn't be fair to allow someone who's transgender to compete.
I think it's totally discriminatory, and it's hard to believe that, obviously, this is based on science, but how is it that over 10 years ago, the NCAA made a decision based on science, and they came to the complete opposite decision?
Well, what was that then? Just talk
that trans women can compete, and that's why Leah Thomas did compete. She did testosterone suppression, she did hormone replacement therapy, and she was able to compete following the rules and the regulations set by the NCAA. Okay. So I don't understand why now it's the complete opposite decision based on science.
OK, well, Maya, I'll tell you what, come back to that. Maya Forstater there, of course, Director of Sex Matters. So science was wrong before, but it's right now, is it then, Maya? What do you think?
I think the rules that were made previously were based on politics, not science. The science has become clearer and clearer that however much people suppress their testosterone, males suppress their testosterone, if they've been through any form of male puberty, they have an advantage, an unfair advantage. And so for sport, as Tessa said, fairness is the object. And so I think FINA have gone with the science, they've listened to the athletes, and they've done what's fair for women's sports, which is to protect the female category. It's really good news. OK, Tessa, would you have refused to compete against someone who basically, I suppose, I'll just say it, had full male tackle?
Well, I think, you know, looking on the whole of all this thing, I mean, sometimes we have no sort of jurisdiction over our competitions because, I mean, I've competed, as I say, for 26 years. And a lot of the climbs, there was some discriminatory in the sense, but it was still with women competing against women. Now, what we have to understand, and what everybody's got to get their head around, is that when you're born male, you're born male. OK, you're born women, you're born women. You know, great, have nothing against that. But what I'm saying is that when you look at the fairness, men are born with higher testosterone. And just because you're coming in and being asked, OK, let's lower it a little bit now, boys. It's OK for you to compete, you know, against women. Now, women have been there for years, setting records, doing well, and pushing that barrier out. And all we're saying is that let the science prove that they are eligible to compete against women. And at the moment, I feel that, no, this would be totally, totally unfair.
Amy, I'll throw it back over to you. Like, I'm not sure exactly, I don't need to know about your personal circumstances or anything like that, but hypothetically, if you had a daughter and she went on trials for Manchester United or a much worse football team, and she was playing up front, and then Gary turns up, who now identifies as a woman, and he gets picked ahead of her because he's 6'3" and massive, you wouldn't be happy with that, would you?
Well, look, if I had a daughter or a son, and what's so worrying is, you know, in most countries, you can't transition before the age of 12. So I'm worried about the future. Children thinking, oh, I must transition before the age of 12 if I love doing this, but I'm starting to identify with the other sex. It's just so worrying. I'm just worried for the future generation.
Well, is that the concern, just sticking with you, Amy, on this one, is there the concern that actually transitioning before the age of 12 is too early to transition anyway?
I think it actually is too early. I mean, hormonal changes really start to happen a bit later. So it is so worrying that children of the age of 11, which is what they'll have to be to start transitioning before the age of 12, which is now the FINA rule. It's not a good thing, and it's going to lead to disaster, in my opinion.
No, Maya, I'll lob it over in your way now. I mean, look, this could be the start, couldn't it? I think maybe other sports have been looking for someone to kind of fire the starting gun, as it were, and say, look, OK, because we don't want to be the first ones. And swimming has just gone, you know what, we've had enough of this, we'll do it. Maybe now it'll be cycling, maybe now it'll be athletics, maybe it'll be anything else. Do you think this could just be the start of something, Maya?
I do. I mean, World Rugby looked at this carefully in 2020 and they came to the same conclusion. It's not safe, it's not fair for males to play in rugby. Cycling has kicked it down the road. They haven't taken a brave decision. FINA have taken a brave decision. And I think more world sporting bodies and national sporting bodies are going to start looking at that and saying, you know, we can draw a line in a place that's fair. And that means males who identify as transgender should be welcome in male sports. That's one thing that the policy says. It's not banning anyone from sports. It's just getting people to play in the correct sex category, whatever their gender identity.
Tessa, look, you operated... Go on, Tessa.
I have to say is that, you know, there must be, as well, other solutions to look at, because I sympathise with what you're saying about the 12-year-olds, because some 12-year-olds, I mean, that decision and out there wanted to make a decision whether they want to be transgender or not. Some of them don't even know as such at that age. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that I really do think at the end of the line, it's about fair, and it's about, yes, you look at equality, but it's about fairness too. It's awful when you go out there and you're competing against someone who let's look at it that you think has been drugged up, and you know they've beaten you in a competition, and you really go away feeling, no, you know, they shouldn't have really won that. It's an awful feeling. This is more or less the same thing here. If you're a transgender, a woman as such has been working for such a long, long time, and then, you know, a transgender comes into that competition, think it's all going to be fair because your testosterone's a little bit lower, you win that competition. Yeah, that's not fair level playing at all whatsoever. And also, I might add, Dan, that, you know, why can't we look at other solutions like transgender, have transgender competition, transgender against transgender, instead of trying at the moment to really encroach on our world as such, you know, to make it happen. I'm sorry, that's just the way that I feel at the moment about it all.
I understand. Amy, look, you've heard it there. A lot of people think it is just cheating.
No, it's not. And I just want to point out that when Leah won the NCAA championship, she only won one race. She didn't win all three. So it's not like because she transitioned, she won everything and she, you know, shaved off seconds, if not minutes. You know, she just won 1 out of 3. So I think that says a lot.
But is that not one woman who should have won and couldn't because a bloke turned up and won it instead?
No.
No? Fair enough. OK, your views. Maya, I'm going to throw it over to you. I mean, a lot of people do find... I mean, I would raise serious questions. Look, I mean, it's easy for me to sit here and say I'm... well, I think some would argue as to whether or not I was exactly a complete red-blooded male, but I'm certainly a man, and I wouldn't want to compete against women personally, no matter what.
No, I think that's right. I wanted to pick up on this point about 12-year-olds.
Okay.
I think FINA has drawn this line because they can't say your sex assigned at birth, and they can't necessarily say XX chromosomes because there are a very small number of people who have disorders of sexual development who may not realise that they have male...
like Caster Semenya.
Exactly. So they had to draw a line that enabled... the line was in the right place in terms of anyone who goes through male puberty, however they are assigned at birth. I don't think FINA is trying to encourage 12-year-olds to transition. I don't think it's up to the swimming sports body to decide whether 12-year-olds should transition. That's something for mental health. It's something for child development. It's something for parents and doctors and society. You know, you couldn't really expect a sporting body to deal with that. So I think they've drawn this line in order to say anyone who has a male puberty cannot compete in women's sports. The question of whether it's ethical, safe, or a good idea to transition children under 11 is a separate question. It's not really a question for the swimming.
Okay, then. All right, Amy, and then a quick one from Tessa. We're up against it here. Go on, Amy. What's that?
But my worry is it might inform their decision. Obviously, kids know so much these days. So that is so worrying, in my opinion.
OK, good, nice, short, sharp,
Yeah,
snappy,
but I'd
Tessa.
also like to say something about that, the lady in the middle, that you said it was just one competition that they won. But you see, right, fair enough, the one that won competition, but it's one too many. And I'm really glad that Fina's taken that stance now to say, because once you're on there, and it'll go on and on and on. And I just don't think that's fair.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows, and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.